Folks, welcome back to another Poem Master video, and so Hilda and Ethan's dual banner dropped yesterday, right? Or last night, I guess. And I didn't think I was gonna do a video on it because first of all, I forgot, and second of all, I didn't really think it was necessary, but apparently I should probably do it because it's in with tradition. That we do one of these videos for each of these banners. So let's go ahead and talk about it then. So Hilda and Ethan's banner, if you guys don't know, the offering rates are both 1.5% each on the featured units, and a way lower rates for the unfeatured, right? It's 0.15% for the unfeatured units. And like, as for the banner itself, it's probably one of the weakest banners we've seen in a while, right? There's basically no reason to summon on this banner, especially since like Serena's banner is still up, and Serena's banner is like fantastic, right? And also, if you're looking for Hilda, which is honestly the main prize here, if you're looking for Hilda, and you know, obviously you can't do this if you're completely free to play, right? But if you do have pay gems, there is like a there is a limited select scout right now where you could just spend like 300 pay gems and you could just pick up a Hilda for free. Well, it's not free, but you know, it's $1. It's $1. And then there's also the discounted multi that you could also pick out a Hilda from as well. I don't think you can get Ethan in either of those, unfortunately, but it's not a big deal, and we'll go over why it's not a big deal. All right, so for those who don't know, these two units, they're not new units. They're both old units. Hilda is slightly older than Ethan, but Hilda did just get a synchro expansion last night as well. So Hilda did get much better, right? Hilda used to be so Hilda's trajectory as a unit in this game has been weird, right? When it first came out, it was really good. Just, you know, in terms of the content that we had at the time. Right, and the amount of units that we had in the game, we didn't have too many units, and Hilda was really good because of the fact that Hilda does a lot of damage. At the time, Hilda was very useful for EX Karina, but after that, like, it slowly, Hilda fizzled out, and like she kind of just like dropped off a cliff, right? She went from like one of the better strikers in the game to honestly one of the weakest, unfortunately, right? So yeah, here's the thing with Hilda. And the reason why Hilda isn't or wasn't that good for a very long time is because of Flare Blitz. It's her main damaging move. Yes, it does a lot of damage, 100% accurate, right? It takes recoil, and recoil in this game is calculated it's terrible, right? Because you take 25% of damage that you deal to the target, and in this game, our units have like 400 to like usually 400 700 HP, around that range, usually around 600, I guess, depending on the unit. And then the opponent has like over 10,000 HP. So like, you know, when you're dealing damage to the opponent, 25% of that is a lot, right, that you take back. So very likely, a lot of times Hilda will take herself out in like one or two moves. Well, probably not one move, but two or three, four moves, right? She does have potion, which does help with that, and she also does have first aid 4, so she's not like the worst recoil unit, because you know her recoil is very much manageable for the most part, in comparison to like some other ones. But still, again, recoil not really good. You take yourself out too easily. And the other thing with Hilda is it takes a while to set up. If you really want to use like Hilda's own moves, obviously you could just bring supports in and buffer that way. That's obviously much quicker. But she does have Flame Charge, and then Flame Charge increases her speed. And then the trainer move, you know, once a speed has been raise the attack by double the amount of its speed that's been raised. So if you use Flame Charge 3 times and then you use Try and Stop Us once, you'll get +6 speed. Although one thing I do find pretty annoying about this is you're getting that you're getting Flame Charge, you're getting +3 speed on turn 3, and then if you want to get it to max attack, you need to use Try and Stop Us on turn 4. So that cuts into your sync move turn, right? So that's like an extra turn before you use your sync move, which is slightly annoying for me, that I find. But generally, she hits really hard. Her stats, she has the highest HP in the game, 846 HP, mostly to accommodate the recoil. A lot of, you know, recoil units do have very high HP. She has a solid attack. Her speed's really low, but again, she does have Flame Charge to you know, deal with that, so she's actually not that slow, right? Just go to the speed buffs. Her defenses aren't the greatest, as you can see, very, very low. But again, she has a lot of HP, so it does, balance out that way for the most part, I guess, sort of. So, as for Ethan, we'll talk about her grid in a bit, but as for Ethan, Ethan has to be like probably probably the weakest summonable 5-star striker in the game. Ethan is just straight up bad, unfortunately. There's no other way to describe it. Ethan has very, not the best special attack, 247. It's still serviceable, but, in comparison to, like, any other special striker, right? Like, Ethan just doesn't do, like, Pikachu has 314. Dugong has less, right? Dugong's special attack is not that great. Dugong does have other stuff to accommodate for it. Dugong does have a super duper effective. Everyone's around 300 or so, and then like the dude's just at like 274, right? Again, not the greatest. What Ethan does have is Ethan does have really, really good speed. And so there's that, I guess. Defenses aren't that great, but again, striker doesn't matter. Except for the fact that, well, it actually kind of matters on Ethan, because Ethan's main damage output move is Eruption, which does a lot of damage when you're at max HP, but once you take any amount of damage, your damage decreases, right? Even if you take 1 damage, you cut 20% of that damage, right? So that's obviously not good. Let's see, 136 times 0.8. That it turns into a 108 move, right? It turns from 135 to 108. Obviously, you generally won't get hit, right? Because you're not gonna let Ethan be targeted, unless you're in co-op, I guess. Unless or if you get hit by an AOE move, but if the opponent's not using AOE moves, you will have a really, really powerful eruption for the most part. And there's also something else that can accommodate for that is you have Stoke the Fire, which raises your speed and evasiveness and also restores some HP. So there's that as well. But yeah, again, the lower your HP goes, the weaker eruption becomes, to a point where flamethrower would be better, even though it's a 2-gauge 47 power move. And then you also do have X special attack, so there's that, I guess. As for passive skills, you have Speeding Stun too, so obviously Ethan would be really, really nice on the stun. Ethan's like really fast already, and then like with Speeding Stun, and then like you already have speed as well, speed buffs. Like Ethan's really, really fast. But again, Ethan just does not hit hard at all, unfortunately. So Ethan, for that reason, Ethan is one of the weakest summonable strikers, if not one of the weakest strikers in the game. Although I do find Ethan's like not the worst. There are definitely weaker strikers, but at least for summonable 5-star strikers, Ethan is definitely. I was about to say one of the weakest, but it's definitely the weakest. There's a lot of like 4-stars that are better. Like Rose Raid 4 stars is definitely better than Ethan, right? So as for Hilda's grid, Hilda's grid is interesting, because there's a few things that you could do with it. If I could find it, there it is. So as you can see, you do have Potion on it. You have Potion, MP Refresh 2, even though it's MP Refresh 2. It's not, the best, MP Refresh, but it's still an MP Refresh. And you also have Master Healer 2 for only 10 energy. So, Pikachu has Master Healer, right? But, it's Master Healer 1, but you have 2 nodes, but, like, each one of those is 10 energy, so it's, like, 20. So for Pikachu, to get, like, as much Master Healer as Hilda does, you need to spend, like, 20 energy, and Hilda only needs to spend 10, so that's really, really good, obviously. So, Hilda could be a very, very good option on your team for heals and stuff, right? It could take Pikachu's spot, although I personally might prefer Pikachu a bit more, just because Pikachu does have a higher MP refresh, and also Pikachu does have a 1-gauge spammable Thunder Shock. Not that Hilda has much issues with spamming moves, right? Because it does have Flame Charge, which again raises its speed every time you use it, and then it does have Move Gauge Refresh for Flame Charge as well. But Pikachu also has a chance to paralyze, which I do like a lot as well. So there's that with Hostile Environment. So yeah, you could heal with Hilda. You could also build a Sync Nuke build with Hilda, right? You have Inertia with self speed buffs with Flame Charge. You could also pick up Speedy Entry for that if you want as well. There's also, again, sync move nodes that you could, increase for your Sync Nuke, which should deal a decent amount of damage. Hilda doesn't have too many attack nodes. You have like a few big ones, right? You have a attack plus 10 over here and then attack plus 20 over here. So there's, that as well to consider if you want. And as for a Flare Blitz build, this is, what I was talking about earlier, that the grid fixes Hilda's recoil issue, because you have Steadfast 5, 5, and 5. So you basically have Steadfast 15, which would make your recoil damage basically almost negligible, because again, Hilda has a lot of HP to begin with, and then like, you know, once you got all those up and then you're just dealing like double digits to yourself for recoil, it's really not that bad anymore. So your Flare Blitz is actually viable. It's definitely better than Charizard's Flare Blitz, right, for one. So that's nice, I guess. You could, you know, make a Flare Blitz build and make that work. You could have it on the side just for, again, potion stuff. You could have it, you know, have a potion sync nuke build that you could run along with another better striker, or better fire striker, right? So Hilda's definitely a really good unit now. Again, like I mentioned before, it's obviously you should not summon on this banner at all, right? Again, Serena's banner's still up. She's just one of the best units of the game, and Hilda, while still being good, is probably not worth it. And again, you also do have that Select Scout out, so obviously in general, like I mentioned before at the beginning of this video, you probably shouldn't summon on the unit, but or not the unit, the banner. So there's that, I guess. Anyways, well, that's maybe for this one. Hope you guys enjoy. Let me know, guys, think in the comments down below. Like and enjoy this video, so channel for some more Pokemon Masters content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.